Welcome Raj, welcome Conor. Thank you for joining me today. Obviously we're here to talk about Microsoft Surface, specifically Pro 10 and Laptop 6. I'm Jonathan Scott, I lead our Microsoft Surface business for the UK and Europe, but I'd love to get a little bit of an intro on yourselves. Maybe if we start with you Raj, who are you, where are you from, what do you do?
Yeah, I'm Raj Shee and I lead the Surface AI strategy at Microsoft UK.
Yeah, and I'm Conor Letham. I'm the modern work specialist for education. I look after devices and licenses and Copilot in general.
Fantastic. So there was something I particularly wanted to ask you guys about was customers today have options with Surface of two sort of classes of device. We have AI PCs and we have Copilot Plus PCs. And that for some customers is a little bit confusing. I was hoping you guys could sort of clarify what's the difference between an AI PC and a Copilot Plus PC?
Do you want to take it, shall I? I can go, okay. It's to do really mainly with the NPU that's within the device, this neural processing unit, and it's part of something called a system on a chip. You can think of it as just your chip that's on the device. They're typically unified. So we would talk about system on the chip, we talk about a CPU, we talk about an integrated GPU, and then we talk now about an NPU that's on there. And so while your CPU can do some basic tasks for AI, and your GPU can be used a little bit for kind of the visual aspect, the NPU is specialized in that respect. So it can bring down times such as, say, doing a audio clip in Audacity from, like, say, 2 minutes down to 10 seconds for pop filtering if you wanted to, if you were doing media, but also to other features as well, like Windows Studio Effects, Recall, Click to Do, and more that are on their way.
Excellent. So if you want really powerful AI capability, a Copilot Plus PC is the way to go.
Yeah.
That has a bigger NPU? How does that work? Is it how
Yes.
are these capabilities measured?
So Copilot Plus has a standardization in terms of what a Copilot Plus PC is. Mm-hmm. So what we do require is that it has a chip or system on chip that does 40 plus tops. For just for the Surface devices, they're 45 at this moment in time, and that obviously may increase over time as we do more things AI on device. And then a minimum of 16 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage. That storage is really important, particularly for recall, because typically it can be up to 50 gigabytes for 3 months of going back in time and be able to see what you had done locally on your device, safe and secure. Whereas with AI PCs, you can only do things such as maybe studio effects and use those as a benefit in your day-to-day life.
Yeah, and furthermore, you can actually also have Copilot in Windows, and you can instantiate Copilot from the keyboard. Mm-hmm. So again, having a dedicated workload in terms of like AI, image, audio, video processing, not just Microsoft apps, but also third-party apps and the wider ISV ecosystem. So having, apps from different, say security suites or IT product management or, personal productivity and so much more, and especially from a Surface and enterprise setting, you've got all kinds of workflows and integrations that can also be expanded into what we call the XPU performance.
Fantastic. So for those customers today that are trying to weigh up whether to buy an AI PC or a Copilot Plus PC. Copilot Plus PC is obviously very powerful, lots of AI features and capabilities, sound amazing. Why would a customer maybe opt for an AI PC at the moment?
So an AI PC is offering those experiences such as Windows Studio Effects, so still giving the benefit of voice clarity so you're heard within busy environments, so also being able to blur out the background, so sensitive information there are things that may distract, they're not as easily visible, but having it almost like a camera-like effect when you're using our blur effects, right, and our portrait blur effects. But the difference really is between where you are in your journey, where the AI PCs they're built there for any customer who wants to buy a good substantial device that they're ready for. Maybe a couple of AI features, but maybe nothing pushing past the borders and boundaries. Whereas with the Copilot Plus PCs, they're ready for the future. And it's about having a device that will last a lot longer by having more features that come out, more experiences. So always changing, adapting, and being stronger as a proposition, but also having better security as well. Because that NPU that we use on device also helps with security as well on device too.
Perfect, thank you. And we'll talk a little bit later on about some of those specific workloads. But before we go any further, one of the things I wanted to talk about was, of course, just general Surface, right? And I wanted to kick off on some of these different features that we have that I really, really like. And one of my favourite, one of the things that's become increasingly important to our customers is what they are made of. So the materials that go into it. I wondered if you guys could speak a little bit more about, well, what is this? What's it made of? Why is that important? Why should we care?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, starting from our, the materials they're made from, but also the way we've designed the devices, having a great sort of 3:2, screen ratio to the keyboards and the, say, the precision haptic touchpad, the way you're interacting with devices, but also the way you're touching or you're, say, annotating with the Slim Pen 2, or really the whole inking experience, and also more importantly using things like voice command, whether you're pressing a Copilot key on the keyboard, you have the Copilot AI assistant pop up, and you can also have different variants of that, so say a work Copilot experience or a personalized Copilot experience or a Copilot in Windows experience, depending on, again, which Windows 11 version and build you have. So that gives you, again, more variety options and also ways of interacting and ideating and drafting content, or really getting, Copilot to assist you in your work experiences or whilst you're interacting with the device. So it goes to show, how much thought we put into how you interact, but also the way you interact with the devices. We've got different, obviously, form factors, traditional sort of clamshell laptops versus the Pro devices, which have a kickstand, and the materials they're made from, more sustainable and more repairable than ever before.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just talking about that as well, in terms of repairability, a lot of our devices are now fully repairable. You can replace the screen, the battery, the ports, even the webcam as well on our Pro device and our microphone. You can place a lot of parts on our hardware. And one of the best benefits of it is that it's all fairly well recycled materials. So as an example, the enclosure on your device just there, it's 100% post-industrial recycled material. And we do a lot more as well on the inside too. And if you replace a part such as that kickstand, that part also has been made of recycled parts as well. So you're really helping your own carbon journey.
Absolutely. I find it really interesting as well. I think people have become more aware in recent years that plastic is often not the way to go, and that the recyclability of plastic is really quite poor, only 1, potentially 2 reuses at most, whereas things like magnesium and aluminium can be recycled pretty much indefinitely, and it's really nice to see that the chassis and they feel better. So that's quite interesting. I also wanted to go back to one of the things you mentioned on repairability. So this has started coming up time and time again. So as maybe the economy has slowed a little bit and people are looking at trying to get the most from their devices and extend those lifespans, they are looking at things that they know will still be okay in 4 or 5 years' time. I think gone are the days of those typical 3-year refreshes. We are seeing customers that want to know that in 5-6 years' time, this device will still work for them. And so Microsoft are guaranteeing both parts availability and security updates for, is it 5, 6, 7 years? A long time.
Yeah.
And all of these parts are available to buy. You don't need to go to a specialist. We can have customers give us a call today and they can buy any part they want for their devices. And the newer devices are incredible. The list of parts that you can replace yourself with a Torx screwdriver.
At home if you wanted to.
Yeah, at home is immense. Yeah. And of course, we've always had things that can be replaced a little bit more easily, like things like the doors and things like that, the kickstands. But it's really nice to see Microsoft, I guess, kind of taking the lead on that and allowing self-repair and giving our customers confidence that these parts will be there for them.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's been great.
It gives us a great image as well of having a long-lasting device that you could depend on. But as you mentioned, a lot of customers are sweating their assets, sweating their devices. We even go to the extent of, as you kind of mentioned, about repairing at home if you wanted to. There's even indicators inside the device on which screws and how many screws are used, say, for the battery, so that you can safely remove, put to one side, and you know exactly which screw to use. And also QR codes as well for a digital guide to follow, so you can do this yourself. So that's great for individuals, but also for organizations as well.
I mean, that's a really, I guess, overlooked feature. If you've ever tried to take something apart and you think, there's only 3 screws in this, and you can take this out and you give it a wrench, and you realise, no, there was one more holding it on, if anyone's worked on a laptop in particular. By that point, you're done. So it is actually really nice knowing that there's these set numbers in there of, here are your screws, here's the size of screwdriver you need as well, and you don't round it off immediately.
And
they make a
point
difference.
Out, so that screwdriver that you're using could be one that's from, like, say, iFixit, because we partner with them. And so actually there is a dedicated Surface kit you can buy from iFixit, so you know that you have the right tools for the job as well. So not just the right screws, but the right tools to use for those screws.
Absolutely. And I think it's one of the things that everyone sort of in the industry now, you can compare these screwdriver sets that people have bought. And the iFixit one is actually really, really good. And so actually, Raj, you started talking about this, and it would be great to get some more detail, is on the accessibility side of Surface. So this comes up quite a lot, and I know Microsoft take this really, really seriously. You and I have both been to the Human Factors Labs in Redmond and seen how obsessed those guys are with making sure that these devices work in all sorts of conditions for all sorts of shapes and sizes of person and people with limited mobility. I wondered if you could talk a little bit more about that and maybe some of the standout features that you might not notice at first.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've taken accessibility into account every time we design our technologies, but more importantly, the way we design our devices. Obviously you've got things like accessibility reader, or you can change fonts or colors and things like that. But, look at the physical features of a device. We've got anti-reflective displays on these AI PCs. Essentially, that's driving optimal readability over time, regardless of the kind of environment or, lighting conditions you're in. And then things like having a quick little, raised bump on, say the F4 button for people who can't really see or automatically can tell, well, that's the volume up button versus, say the touch pads, how you interact with them. The Laptop Studio 2, for example, has the precision haptic touchpad, and you can essentially touch it and really go ahead with, receiving feedback and, how you press it, or if you can increase the screen size and all those kind of controls physically, as well as also looking at the way the keyboards and the layouts of the keyboards are designed. They're optimal for people of different hand shapes and, fingers and everything like that. So again, provides you the most comfortable experience. But then looking at things like the technology side of it, the moment you press the Copilot key on the keyboard, it will pop up and instantiate Copilot in your context of your screen. So whether you're in your Microsoft 365, productivity suite, or in a different Copilot, for example, or a Copilot in Windows, again, if you couldn't physically type, you can dictate using voice commands. And if you couldn't possibly read, you can get it to read out the answers out aloud. Right, so those kind of features, again, help you interact with your devices and the technology in the most, a seamless way. And again, provides options of people with all abilities, and you don't even have to, try very hard to find, where those lay. We've got great sort of capabilities on the device, but also for you to dictate, and Copilot is almost listening to you and again, answering in the most natural way, in natural language.
And there was one of my favourite features that has been in Surface for a long time is the ability to open them all with just one finger. And we were speaking about this before, that it's very easy to take that for granted when you've got full mobility. But when you try it with other devices, and there's various ones out there, other OEMs, where it's quite difficult. And every time since I learned about this fact, every Surface I get, I see whether it works. And actually, it's a really nice, simple feature that makes a huge amount of difference for some people. But Conor, I would love you to talk about a little bit as well the Surface Adaptive Kit, because I know, particularly for some of your customers, this has been really important for them, and it's a really great bit of kit. But what is it?
Yeah, the Adaptive Kit is a really affordable kit. It's almost like a bunch of stickers, but really adhesive stickers, so that if you wanted to, you could add more bumps to your keyboard to know exactly where your hands should be placed for those hard of sight or blind. There's also a tab that you can stick on the top of your device as well, so you can pull by your teeth or with stubs and nubs. So making it easy to open up if you find that little lip to be able to reach up on with the laptop difficult, or even with the Pro device, opening up with the keyboard. And then we've also got some other parts as well, like little wraps that go around your cables, and little stickers that go near your ports, so that you know which one matches by color, but also by how it feels. There's almost like a braille touch to it. And actually that kind of extends to a lot of our products, including our accessories in our ecosystem. So even our Surface docks, as an example, they have these little dots above each of the ports, so you can feel which one's which by reaching behind either your monitor or under the desk, so you know exactly where to plug your accessories into.
And it's a really good point, actually. For any customers that we've got that want to try the Surface Adaptive Kit or see how that works on your Surface, we can send those out free of charge for you to evaluate and see whether or not that can make a difference for some of your users. So a few other things I wanted to talk about. We touched on it briefly about the materials. We talked about these being made out of metal rather than plastic. But of course, what's really important for many of our customers around the world is CO2, right? It's their carbon footprint. And obviously, Microsoft take CO2 really, really seriously. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about some of the tooling that's available. So obviously, the carbon footprint associated with manufacturing these is pretty low. It's often leading. But Microsoft fully published the eco-profiles online of where all of this data comes from, and the way that it is measured is so rigorous. But I wondered if you might be able to talk a little bit about the sustainability calculator that Microsoft have, the emissions calculator, sorry, and how that works for a customer, and why is that important?
Yeah, it allows for a fully transparent view of what you're doing with your hardware and make comparisons so you know that when you buy devices from yourselves, when they are Surface hardware, you are getting a full picture of your carbon impact as an organization. And you can look at the full extent as well from that point of when you do obtain it, so when it's built in our factories to when it actually comes to you, and then after that journey, if you do decide to resell or repurpose that device, it allows you that full transparency there. And that's really important as well, just to know, we build to order our devices. So we're never really building a surplus of devices. We're not trying to increase our carbon. We're trying to minimize that as much as possible, while making sure as well that the customer gets devices in good time for yourselves, as an example.
And it's a really good point. It's something that both myself and you guys and a lot of our sales teammates can go through with customers to work out the carbon footprint of a proposed estate and make sure that is passed on to the right people within an organisation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Similarly as well, while we're talking about some of the tools available from Microsoft to help inform properly about a purchase, is the total cost of ownership calculator. Now, both of these tools are really quite simple in the way they work. You punch in how many devices you're buying and what the specs are, and again, it's all there in a drop-down. And it produces lots and lots of rich information. Raj, I wondered if maybe you could just talk a little bit about the total cost of ownership calculator and what does that mean to a customer?
Yeah, the total cost of ownership calculator is a really powerful tool because, like you said, John, you can pretty much insert the number of devices, the kind of Surface devices you have, and basically it will take into account, what your Surface estate is made of, what this comprises of, and give you a full, transparent, view of obviously the ROI, right, over years, the impact and obviously the value you're getting out of buying, these Surface devices and what that means to your organization. And on top of that, you can obviously have a breakdown, in terms of, value in terms of how much you're gaining financially, but more importantly, the long-term value in terms of your business. For example, what it means in, say, the finance industry versus the healthcare industry versus education and more. So it's a really powerful tool and really helps you understand the long-term value you're driving for your business with Surface.
It is, and it's something I'd like to use more often, actually. For those that don't know, you can also put in your Microsoft licensing profile, whether you're E3, E5, F1, whatever, and use that to help inform the figures that are returned. And again, the breakdown that comes out, the data in there is tremendous, but it's very easy to digest. So I think it's something that we should all probably start using a little bit more when providing quotes and customers are evaluating devices. Because it's actually a really simple but really great and powerful piece of kit. So that's fantastic. So a couple more things I wanted to talk about. We've spoken about these calculators, but I understand potentially quite recently, actually, there's been some changes to the management portals for Surface. Raj, maybe you could tell us a little bit more about how Surface is managed within things like InTune, and why do customers care?
Yeah, absolutely. So, InTune is really powerful because you've got that whole control for endpoint management. And just with any device, you want to make sure that you have that single pane of glass and that whole centralized view of your entire Surface estate. How many devices do I have? What kind of devices do I have? Obviously the product IDs, SKUs, if I was to raise, IT support request tickets, or if I was to see if they're compliant, do I need to update them, upgrade them, push policies, or deprovision devices, pretty much, hand them over to another set of users, for example. All of that's made, completely simple, convenient, and seamless in that portal because you can obviously access it, but you have lots of other features like, say the emissions calculator. You can pretty much view how many Surface devices you have, the carbon emissions, and the carbon impact, obviously the carbon footprint you have as an organization. And we give you full transparent details in terms of what Surface carbon emissions are, and depending on the SKUs and the devices, we'll give you a full end-to-end view of all those details broken down. But more importantly, we also have, say the Surface IT Toolkit integrated into the Surface Management Portal. So you can have that as a standalone app, but also it's integrated there, so you can again access the greatest IT tools, capabilities, and resources and blogs, which again help IT teams and IT admin pros to stay on top of service device management, but more importantly to really manage, deploy, and completely secure these devices across the entire device lifecycle management.
Excellent. And maybe one for you, Conor. I know it's something that some of your customers have asked about as well. Is things like Surface Enterprise Management Mode or UEFI compared to like a BIOS. What does that actually mean for a customer? And again, why is that important? What makes Surface different from that perspective?
Well, there's multiple ways of deploying and managing your devices. So if you want to go through SEMM, you can do that with our devices. And that's effectively Surface Enterprise Management Mode. Off the top of my head, yeah.
Very good.
Thank you. So it means that you have a specialist way of white gloving essentially your devices and deploying them and then further managing from that respect. But what we do see more of when we are talking with our customers is the interest in our InTune as well as our autopilot as well. And so really it's about that engagement of when you receive a device, and either it's to an employee or any other kind of individual, when they receive a device, it's already set up effectively when it comes to out-of-box experience. So all they do is they put in their credentials, connect to the internet, choose language, and then the device sets itself up from that point. And that was really important as well. We learned this from back during COVID as well, where people were receiving devices at home. And now a lot of people work remotely, where if a device is sent to their home address, they can still use the device straight away on day one. And with zero trust as well, it means that it's safe and secure as well.
Yeah, just to add, with the zero touch and the white glove service, that's where Insight has fantastic capabilities and offerings around providing a completely configured and modern management side of things. Where you've got this device, you unbox it and it's ready to go just with a few buttons and clicks, and that's how powerful it is for customers to really lean on Insight's support there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, the autopilot exists for those customers that just want to put in their credentials and everything will get pulled down. For those that want to be ready immediately, we have that white glove service available where we've pre-booted it up, we've made sure everything works correctly, we've already pulled down those updates and those apps, and that is ready to go within seconds for a customer. And that's a really cost-effective way of shortening the time that IT have to take to manage this. So that's something we do a hell of a lot, actually. It's very, very popular with our customers. So one of the next things I wanted to talk about was around the Laptop 6 and the Pro 10. So they're powered by Intel Core Ultra, which has some really new and neat features on it. I wondered, Raj, if you could talk about maybe just some of the AI features on these devices. What's available on a Pro 10 compared to things like the Pro 9 and Pro 8 from before?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, the Laptop 6 and Pro 10 are exclusively built for business. So again, really bringing you the groundbreaking performance from an AI standpoint, but with extended battery life and incredible on-device AI capabilities. They are Windows 11 secured core PCs, so giving you that level of security on the hardware and firmware, in addition to obviously our default hardware based sort of security guidelines in our cloud and apps. So you're Defender for Endpoint and all the great features, but more importantly, both of them have NPUs, right? Neural processing units to really give you the dedicated AI processing and offloading that workload from the CPU. So again, that drives the performance and the efficiency and gives you the battery life and the power. And if you look at, say the Pro 10, compared to its predecessors, this one is great because in terms of physical features, both of them have the great sort of anti-reflective displays, pixel sense touch screens, got palm rejection technology, and more importantly, a Copilot key, but NPU performance, but really, Pro 10 supports optional 5G connectivity, but also has NFC capability. So, if you wanted to, say, leverage the NFC functionality in the devices, that's great, especially in, say, healthcare or education or FSI customers. And you can go passwordless, but also say if you were to boot both the machines with Windows Hello enhanced security sign-in, you can go passwordless but biometric authentication. So again, giving you AI capable, features like cameras and Studio Clarity mics, but also the way they differ is also in terms of performance. So, say the laptop 6 has incredible, Intel H-class processors versus the Pro 10, which has, U-class processors. Again, both backed by the incredible performance and security by, Intel's Core 14th generation Ultra processors. But in terms of variation and, how you want to really leverage the devices for, say, on-device AI capabilities in terms of within apps or within connectors, plugins, or within your own line of business systems, or say, you're in your own CRM systems, how you sort of kickstarting, say, an AI workflow, or if you've got, say, a Copilot UI, or you can essentially also build on top of the Copilot that we already provide you. So you've got that base layer, and then you can really build what's right for your business and drive long-term value that way. So, you've got great functionalities and features, but also both of them are incredible in terms of the performance and power they provide, and obviously the AI capabilities on device.
Fantastic, thank you. So, Raj, the latest devices that are in the market now are Copilot Plus PCs. We've spoken before about AI PCs. What are the sort of AI features on a Copilot Plus PC? What's important to a customer?
Yeah, absolutely. The Copilot Plus PCs are essentially the fastest Windows PCs that we've ever built, right? With at least twice the number of performance just on the NPU itself. Mm-hmm. And just to give you a bit of a competitive landscape, we've really, brought about outstanding AI performance when compared to Apple's, say, M4 neural engine. That's quite incredible because, we've got the incredible Microsoft ecosystem and the incredible AI innovation that we see every single day. But these PCs are incredibly secure, incredibly powerful, efficient, with more than 22 hours of battery life. So, you almost don't have to carry a charge around anymore, which is really valuable, and also more importantly the extensibility and the platform we provide for you to innovate on it. So bringing a lot of those local data AI processing workloads onto the device is really powerful, especially because you're able to get more control and security with your own data, and Microsoft has no view on that either, right? So it's giving our end users the most control than ever, because you're basically able to process that, but also you're able to, bring a lot of those AI-based experiences onto the device, hence reducing costs, say, in terms of licensing, or, reducing the dependence on cloud-delivered AI in the long run.
Excellent. And another feature that's available on Copilot Plus PCs is recall. We've had a lot of customers ask questions about recall, a lot of users ask questions about recall, and maybe don't quite understand what it is and what the implications are. Are either of you able to talk about recall a little bit, and what it actually is? What does it do?
Yeah, so recall is a fantastic feature in terms of taking a snapshot of your interactions and your activity on your device. So you could almost go back in time, and you've got that timeline, find that, red box in that file when I was talking to person X,
Yep.
On my Teams meeting. But, essentially you can go back and describe in natural language what you were doing, or if you were to search for items and scrape your experiences, you can do that. And today, if you're on Windows Insider Preview, you can absolutely, experience recall and see if you want to test it out. But more importantly, we made the recall experience secure than ever. So again, giving you that whole peace of mind in terms of data governance and making sure that, you're only able to basically access the information and view that based on sensitivity labels, obviously compliance and the regulatory controls are set by your organization depending on, the business units and, the users, and obviously sort of having all those kind of policies in place. So like I said, you can toggle it on and off, but you can also control how users can view and interact with that data. So, essentially giving you the most experience that's very secure as well.
That's fantastic. So thank you, Raj. Now, one of the most important things that we generally find with our customers when they are wanting to look at Surface is they want to get hold of one and test it. And so a bit of a loaded question, and obviously it's available from both of us. We can help customers with evaluation devices and demo devices. And obviously you guys can support customer conversations. But I think what I really wanted to get across is, and maybe one for you, Conor, what do customers find when they get their hands on a Surface device? What sort of feedback do you find from your customers?
Yeah, it's normally a case of, I didn't realize how premium and nice feeling this device is. We're seen as the kind of the cream of the crop when it comes to Windows devices. So you'll find with our devices, they're 3:2 ratio displays on all of our hardware, meaning that you have more real estate it's more natural for work. It feels like an A4 piece of paper compared to being a letterbox style when you're viewing videos or movies, which you don't do every day on your device. At least I know I don't, at least. But when it comes to the back end as well, so not just on the front end of how to use this and having that brighter display, that touch capability, the pen capability with zero inking, with those in IT, they find it a pleasure to be able to manage. So we talked about it earlier on about managing it through IT Toolkit, using InTune and Autopilot. That's what they're surprised about, how easy it is to add the lone device to their own organization and then start using it straight away.
Fantastic, and I think it makes a huge difference. And for anyone that wants to test one, speak to me, speak to my team, speak to Conor and Raj. We can help you get hold of a device and see whether or not it's the right device for you. But overwhelmingly, the feedback we get is fantastic.
Absolutely.
And so the last couple of things, I just wanted to remind you that any customers, certainly in the next few months at least, that are really interested in Surface, particularly on the sustainability side, we can offer a CO2 offset for them. So already the carbon dioxide emissions on the creation of these devices and the usage is pretty low. We can go that step further and take them from being low carbon to zero carbon in the purchase. And again, that's through an accredited charity that does it properly. So that's an offer we've got on at the moment for our customers. But finally, I just wanted to thank you both for your time and thank you for coming in. Look forward to continuing to work with you and finding out all the cool things that are coming with Surface. But thank you, Raj, thank you, Conor. And for anyone watching, please reach out to any of us with any questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you very much.
Cheers.